Hello, crew. Welcome to a new week, and of course, new astrology or continuing astrology from last week, which was the Aries full moon. And I know that we talked a lot about it. Everybody's been buzzing about it. If you're into astrology at all, you knew that the Aries full moon, it was going to be explosive, very tense, very angry. I never really felt that. And you can go back to last week's video and you can see. I feel like this is more personal because of the intimate relationship that the Sun and Chiron are now in. And I want to go through this week's astrology with you and kind of go over how everything is going to be impacting us. But what I named this week's video is The Great Unraveling. And I named it that because that's what's happening. So this is a purging period right now, especially this week as the Sun enters into Scorpio. That'll officially happen by October 22nd around the globe. Depending on where you are, it could be different, but around the globe, it will be officially in Scorpio for everybody by October 22nd. And, Scorpio is all about the drudgery. It's all about the dregs. It's all about the stuff we like to hide, the things that we feel guilty about, we're ashamed of, we want to keep private, we don't want to tell a lot of people. It's a heavy energy and it's a heavy place for the Sun to be. And the Sun is square to Pluto as this happens, and Pluto, of course, rules Scorpio. So the heaviness is palpable right now. The heaviness of Pluto in opposition to Mars, as Mars continues to move through Cancer, it is going to get more intensely opposite Pluto. And we're going to really start to feel it because by the end of this week, it's going to be within 5 degrees of that opposition to Pluto. So it's the opposition between Mars and Pluto is tightening. What does that mean? Everybody goes right to war. And of course, it absolutely could be. But that Pluto-Mars opposition is crisscrossed, forming a grand cross in the sky. And that is a difficult position. It's almost like a stuck position with the Sun and Chiron being opposite to each other. And the Sun and Chiron depletes us. It's you could just, if I had to sum it up in one word, it would be insecurity. Because of our wounds, because of our scars, because of our challenges, how do we feel diminished in who we are and what we're capable of and what our purpose is and what our talents are and what we can lead? Do we feel that we can? And the answer to Chiron always is yes, because Chiron begs to teach us to face the difficult aspects of ourselves, to face the stuff that we struggle with the most, to face our injuries. And yes, with Chiron square to Pluto, square to Mars, and Mars still squaring the Sun, there could absolutely be injuries this week that are either injuries that we've had from the past, like physical injuries, because Chiron is in Aries, so physical injuries to our body that are just making things a little bit difficult, making us have to slow down, making us think, am I worth it at all? Can I make it through this next phase of my life? And the answer is own where you are and own who you are with all of your scars. And allow this next phase of your life, because with all those interactions with Pluto right now, this is about clearing out that old stage of your life. You're not supposed to be who you were. You've got to create who you want to become, and you've got to do it with the stuff that you have around you. We're sitting in like a landscape of rubble, like things are just crumbled. Don't expect the old things that you've used for so long to get you through this next phase. I'm telling all of you right now, the only way to move forward in this energy is absolute, complete, and total transparency and truth, which the Sun in Scorpio, all this interaction with Pluto, it's like, it's making it feel so heavy, but it's like it's making us want to hide, right? But no, it's purging. It's forcing us to purge everything we've tried to hide because it's gotten too heavy, and that's why we're crumbling. So let me go into some specifics. we don't, Pluto only wrecks what can be destroyed or what should be destroyed. You know, Pluto is a highly spiritual energy, an entity. This is another dynamic that I wanted to talk to, is that if you look at the North and South Node now, South Node being in Libra, which is our comfort zone and partnership and, you know, our getting our value from somebody else or working through things with somebody else. And then North Node is, but then we have to be independent. We have to take our own sense of personality and not be afraid to not necessarily be alone and not in partnership, but to do for ourselves, provide for ourselves, and take responsibility for ourselves instead of hiding out in partnership or behind a partner's contribution to us, right? That's what the North and South Node have been teaching us for almost the past year and a half now, because next year they will enter into new signs. But Lilith is conjunct the South Node. And that is, where have we settled? Where have we settled into our comfort zone, into just letting things happen for us and be automatic based on, are we ashamed of it? You know, where have we taken the easy way out? Where have we behaved, or what have we, in other words, what have we settled for because we don't think we deserve any better? And how have we convinced ourselves that that is where we belong and that's the safe place to stay? Because it's not. But the fact that Lilith now sits in opposition to the North Node is it's telling us that shame of having settled for so long is what's keeping us from feeling that we have the energy or the capacity to change or do something different. But we do. And I've said this before, maybe I've never said it to you guys before, but you can wake up and change any day you want. You are not obligated. And Lilith conjunct the South Node is going to make us feel obligated to stay in what we've settled for or what we've pretended is okay for us. Like the us that we've pretended is okay because it was easier to get. And then the additional crippling of the shame that we feel for having settled for so long, right? But we don't have to be that. It's almost like being in an abusive relationship, right? You can be in an abusive relationship for 15 years, hiding the bruises with makeup or lies or pretending like it's not happening. You don't have to be in that relationship for 15 years and a day. What this landscape of almost post-apocalyptic landscape looks like now is reminding us that we don't have any obligation to the rubble of the past. We don't have any obligation to stay where we've been or be who we are. We have 100% the right to and the prospect to become what we love about ourselves and who we love, and to design the life that we really, really care about and really, really want, as opposed to holding on to what we just settled for, right? For all this time. And it's that pressure point that we're being put under now that is going to give us no choice but to start being different and getting out of our comfort zone and allowing ourselves to admit what really matters to us and admit what we really want and who we really are, instead of pretending in order to fit in or be lazy and take the easy path out. Just an FYI. So I'm going to go through this step by step for you guys. We have Mars is squared to Chiron, old injuries, pain, suffering, especially for Cancer 3. So if you're born between just say July 10th or 11th through July 21st, Aries 3s, that's usually around, April 10th through April 21st. There's gonna be a lot of old injuries, maybe physical injuries that are gonna creep up on you this week, you guys especially. Then we have Venus square to Chiron. Sagittarius ones. Venus is with you right now. Venus is conjunct your natal sun. That could be anyone born between November 22nd and December 1st, right? Irritation, especially if things aren't expanding. Growth issues, feeling repressed, because Venus is also, by the end of this week, Venus is going to be, say, about October 23rd, 24th, Venus goes into a square with Saturn. So she's in Sagittarius. She's in this expansive, adventurous energy, but she's square to Saturn of what's getting in my way, what's keeping me restricted, rules, laws, regulations, or maybe wanting to be sure or certain, and insecurities that come with not allowing yourself to be adventurous and just trust where the day will take you in order to expand and grow. And those Sagittarius ones, you'll especially be confronting that, like not being able to feel the joy as much as you want to, not being able to indulge as much as you want to. That it will be frustrating. Pluto in opposition Mars, it gets tighter, like I said, taking things to the extreme, now this is something we all have to watch out for, but especially Cancer 3s and Capricorn 3s, which is July, say, 11th through the 21st or 22nd, and January 11th through the 21st or 22nd. Taking things to the extreme and having a lot of impulsivity control, which is popping off and making permanent decisions in what otherwise would have been a temporary situation. And it can get violent, it can get aggressive, especially with you guys feeling that major pressure. So be aware of that, especially if your birthdays are between those times. Mercury is also a little troublesome this week. It's by midweek, Mercury right now, Mercury is going to be trine to Saturn. So that's measured speech, responsible speech, practical and ethical speech, right? Or communications. So it's a good time for that. But Mercury is moving into opposition. And by the end of this week, I would say, by October 26th, by Saturday, Mercury is in opposition to Uranus. So there could be a shit show happening when it comes to tech, especially communications technology. All of that can just be like, oh my God, things are going haywire. Things are going nutty. And it would be beyond our control because Uranus doesn't like to be controlled. And since Mercury is a lower expression of Uranus, it's just going to direct us into this kind of chaos and craziness of not wanting to make verbal commitments, not wanting to sign paperwork, not a good time to sign paperwork or start a new technology system toward the end of this week into next week. We got to wait till Mercury clears Uranus. Just FYI. Venus is trine to the north node and sextile to the south node by the beginning of the week. This could create ease of change and attraction. You could get bored with the past now. Just FYI. Mars square Sun Chiron wants to do better. Re-injuries and making up for the past. We could try too hard if we're trying to make up for the past, but watch out for re-injuring, especially those physical injuries. October 22nd, the sun officially goes into Scorpio while it's square to Pluto. Heaviness, gravity, and intensity. We're all going to be feeling it this week. This is a heavy week. This isn't a fun, playful, happy-go-lucky week. Don't expect that this week. It could also be not taking any shit, being intimidating, especially for those of you born on that Libra Scorpio cusp, because that's where the sun is and that's where the square to Pluto is. There's just this energy of having extra gravity and extra intensity. And so people being more combative with you this week could absolutely happen simply because they think you're there to take over, even if you're not. Or you could feel more like, I'm less tolerant, I'm less patient, I'm not going to take crap the way that I used to. And so there could be more room for butting heads for you guys this week. Chiron is sextile to Jupiter all week long, which means, and this is where I feel like there's a little bit of optimism in this sort of post-apocalyptic landscape that I see this week. The Chiron sextile to Jupiter means that we're growing from our wounds, and that if any re-injuries or old wounds come up, it's so that we can expand and see them differently and look at what are they teaching us and make us almost more faithful or closer to God or more connected to spirituality because of those injuries, like bringing us back to, and I don't mean religion, I mean a sense of faith, a sense of maybe inspiration to learn about other people's cultures or other people's way of life, especially when our way of life has broken us. So it's giving us the ability to expand and grow beyond it, even though it's all coming up and driving us crazy this week. Uranus is sextile to Mars, so initiating change and advancement. That Chiron sextile to Jupiter and Uranus sextile to Mars tells me that all of this is for good reason. It's to make us want to change and be curious about things that we haven't touched upon or learn about new ways of doing things or ways of being. Right? So it's to wake us up and allow us to let go of that crap that we held on to and then find a way forward and also give us the vehicles to do it. So there is optimism here. Wednesday the 23rd is a very particular day. The moon is going to conjunct Mars, and Mars is in Cancer. The moon is in Cancer during this time. That means the moon will directly oppose Pluto as it's conjunct to Mars. This day will be emotionally intense. There's going to be a lot of anger, rupturing, explosivity. If there's any time during this week that things pop off and go wrong or people act impulsively and violently, it's the 23rd. Especially Cancerians of all kinds, Capricorns of all kinds. That energy is just there and it's going to supercharge it and make it extra emotional and extra difficult. Just expect that, an FYI. There is a grand trine. Pluto is in a grand trine with Lilith and Uranus. Ashamed of ourselves enough to change. When has the shame built up so much that we have forced ourselves to not change? It's about to explode and pop off and be like, I don't care about the shame anymore. The shame isn't worth me being stuck where I am. So another way to innovate and push through. We have Thursday, Mercury and Uranus go into opposition, communications, tech issues, into next week, absolutely. And then Venus is square to Saturn, which is about restriction and challenges. There could also be challenges with long-term commitments, not having fun, feeling bored, feeling stuck, feeling the mundane, or making us take things, what have we been taking too seriously? Also challenges with money and enjoyment. Toward the end of this week, just an FYI. Into next week, I wrote down Scorpio and Taurus, twos into threes. This could hit you hardest, FYI. I think that was the Mercury-Uranus opposition. Because Mercury is in Scorpio. So Mercury is in Scorpio, Uranus is in Taurus. This will hit you guys, these tech issues, these not wanting to make verbal commitments or not getting them, or changes to what you've written, or people wanting to make last minute changes or not be held into contracts or wanting to get out of contracts, or communications tech going shoddy, especially for Scorpio. Say you're born between, I would say, almost like November, maybe 5th through the 15th. It would be that November 5th through the 15th, and definitely Taurus, that would be maybe May 5th through the 15th. It's like, it's those, that energy really popping off for you guys, especially. By the end of the week, there are going to be 3 oppositions in the sky. So it's not just a grand cross. It's almost like It's almost like a sextile sign in the sky, an asterisk. Pluto and Mars are in opposition, Lilith and the North Node are in opposition, and Mercury and Uranus are in opposition. Things that we've tried to hide or haven't dealt with from the past will trigger our responses, confuse our minds. We can be sure that people will be reactionary this week, and the tech issues will make it worse. Venus in Sagittarius wants excitement and expansion, but she's square to Saturn, posing practical challenges to her desires. This would make us moody and create boredom that leads to frustration. Guys, the whole landscape is setting us up for, you've got to change. You've got to change. You've got to be open and receptive to the change that comes to you. And that's change through faith and change through truth. And knowing, hands in the air, don't try to lie through anything this week, just an FYI. And welcome slowing down, because you don't know where the hell you're headed, and that's a good thing. You can't use the experience you've had from the past because it's based on bullshit. Let it all go. You can't hold on to it anymore. It's gotten out of hand. And so now, go slow, admit that you don't know what the hell you're doing, and enjoy the newness and the freshness of getting back to those shaky legs, of realizing that this is really an exciting time and that you can reinvent where you're headed from now. But you can't do it through fantasy or fantastical thought or hoping or wishing. You've got to do it through practical application of whatever resources you still have left in front of you, and by trusting the doors that people want to open for you, even if they weren't the perfect ones or the ones that you always dreamed or wanted yourself to be associated with. This is a time when the universe teaches you about what you're capable of versus you telling the universe where you want to go. I love you guys so much. Enjoy the videos.